Hello, my friends. Don't you find Chinese art fascinating? This is Rowan's channel, and I'm Rowan's wife. Today, I'll take you to experience one aspect of Chinese culture, pottery. How does a lump of clay transform into a cup or vase? Let's find out together. This is a Pottery Experience center hidden in a corner of the city. When there are no customers, the owner creates his own pieces. When someone comes to try it out, he generously guides them on how to make their own. We're here today because my sister won a prize, a free pottery lesson, so we drove 30 minutes to get here. In this tiny room of just over 10 square meters, there were 8 seats for the experience. Today, only my sister and I are here to experience it. On the table were some unfinished works created by the owner. Because they were all handmade, each one was unique. Now the teacher is preparing the clay we'll use to make the cups.
看起来好硬啊。
还好，软的。这是说揉它是为了把它那个空气排出去，要不然里面有空气。
有烧起来会有泡泡。
对。
The teacher began his lesson. The tool was specially made. After being plugged in, the turntable started spinning. And there was a foot pedal to adjust the speed, though the teacher didn't teach us how to use it. He first sprinkled some water on the turntable. Then he fixed the clay in the center of the turntable. Finding the center required some skill.
应该会歪吧？
没事，我就帮你垫好。垫好，要不然会飞。
The teacher told us that the prerequisite for shaping the clay by hand was to keep our hands moist.
你手到时候也要打湿。
We also couldn't wear any jewelry or watches on our hands.
手上最好不要有什么饰品啊。
2 minutes later, the teacher fixed the clay base for us, and we needed to create our own designs on this
好
base.
平啊！我应该怎么弄？
就手得放这里，然后手放上去，感受到。
哦，哎，这个手感很不错了。
那肯定啊，我们这是景德镇的，景德镇的高白泥，很细，你看，跟牛奶。
现在下面有点干干的，是不是？我手上再加点水，还是
你要感觉它有阻力了，你就要加点水。
如果我想在下面小一点，我是不是下面用力？
对，你就小拇指，用你的小拇指来慢慢往回缩。你要开口的就是大拇指往下面。
After watching the tutorial, it was my turn to experience it for myself. First, I wet my hands with water. Then I placed my hands on this cylindrical clay and felt it.
滑溜溜的。但是你弄它就会黏多多的。
I don't know how to describe this feeling. Perhaps it's a bit like the smooth skin of a baby. Then I tried pressing the center of the cylinder with my thumb to form the inside of the cup. But at first I didn't dare to use too much force.
做了个倒扣着玩。
Next, in order to see the shape of the cup more quickly, I increased the pressure of my fingers. The hole is getting deeper and deeper, but it isn't getting bigger. I thought it was because it had dried out and was less likely to deform, so I added some water. As you can see, with my efforts, the hole in the middle is gradually getting bigger. However, this capacity is far from enough to become a cup. So I continued adding water and pressed down with my fingers. Gradually, a platform appeared in the middle. I didn't know how to work with this extra patch of clay. But when the teacher was instructing my sister, he said to place my fingers on the center point and apply pressure. I tried it, and it worked. After resolving the first problem that arose during the process, I continued to repeat the previous operation, pressing down to create more space. But soon a second problem arose. The clay inside the cup turned into slurry.
我里面全是泥巴了。为什么？
不要加太多水啊！ 我也是。
没有你，我跟你讲，你转着转着，它就后来这个水就没了。
咱扶外面去。我现在这个好厚啊！
弄，尝试一下，反正一会儿不行了你就求助，现在还早。
The teacher told me that I could use a sponge to absorb the excess water in the cup, but I didn't know how to do it at first.
手拿着它放下去。
好像已经吸掉了。
So the teacher personally guided me.
我们口越开越大。
I told the teacher I wanted my cup to be deeper.
挖深一点。
He instructed me. Then press down firmly with your thumb, but be careful not to press too low. If the bottom is too thin, it will crack after firing. A cup with a gap in the bottom won't be able to fulfill its purpose. However, I encountered a third problem: how to make the cup taller.
我怎么把它拉起来？
啊？
拉起来的吗？拉起来你可以。
The teacher told me to lift the mud pillar upwards with one hand.
一个手。
我是意思是一个手护住它。
啊。
一个手。
But words are not as effective as seeing it with your own eyes.
哦。这么快就拉高了？
就这种。
With the teacher's help, the cup in my hand quickly reached the desired shape. Next came the fine-tuning. For example, I noticed that the bottom of the cup wasn't perfectly round. One part bulged out, and the other part was concave.
我感觉它底下有点，不圆。
底部。底部不圆。哦，你知道有点那种。
一块凸出来，一块凹进去。
一会儿你就写完了再说。
My teacher comforted me, saying that this is the charm of handicrafts. You can create your own unique works. But I'm an odd person. When learning something new, I don't like to be unconventional. I feel that innovation should be something I do only after I've fully mastered the skill. So I continue to work on adjusting the shape of the cup.
你怎么搞得下面好大？你看我这个
大肚杯，
也行。你要是刚才再大一点，还能放个泡面。
那放不了，它这种的就是我们烧制后面会往里面缩10%到15%。
哦，那这还得再大。
This seems to be the perfect shape for the cup. What happened next caused the cup to disappear. I saw a cup like this on Redbook and really liked it, so I wanted to try making one. I tried to mold a similar shape.
你要把它那个是在里面把它往外面推一下，它肚子就会变大。
My sister taught me to push the cup from the inside out to increase its capacity.
可以，你现在都能叫了，就是。
因为我就是这么把肚子弄大的呀，对吧？
就从中也找到了很多奇妙的东西。
By this point, the shape was actually very close to what I wanted, except that the rim of the cup was uneven. I tried adjusting the rim of the cup, but it didn't seem to work well.
歪掉了。
My sister also helped me adjust it, but the cup looked even more oddly shaped now.
口子会不会太？啊，
有点小。
手指感。对呀，我手搓了一下。
又变大了。不是那个高低了，刚刚就有一点高低了。
用力不均匀是不是？
哎，
可以的，可以的。
越来越怪了。
没事，反正一会儿还能。
要歪嘴巴。
不是，你关键是里面的它那个刚刚用我手指再戳了一下。起来起来。
这造型挺好的。
越大了。像冰一样摊开了。
At this point, you can clearly see that it's off-center. Later, I tried to adjust it many more times, but without success. It's getting weirder and weirder.
掉进去了。
Finally, I gave up trying to fix it myself and waited for the teacher to save it. So let's see how the teacher quickly makes a cup. After shaping the cups as desired, the teacher began using other tools to adjust their shape. However, this was not part of today's lesson. Next, he used a hairdryer to preliminarily shape the cup. After about 2 or 3 minutes, the cup can be removed to proceed to the next step. Next, let's knead 2 little hands for my cup.
能这样搓吧？
可以。
From now on, we started making crafts like children playing with clay, spending 3 hours from 2 p.m. until dark.
那我得大一点吧，手得大一点吧。
This is the cup I want to make. Since making a peace sign is too difficult for a beginner like me, I've decided to start by making a hand with a thumbs up. Once I've mastered some techniques, I'll try making the other hand. At first, I didn't even know what size fingers I should make. My cup seemed a bit too big. The teacher said the cup would shrink after firing, but I felt that even if it shrank, it would still be a bit too big for me. However, the imperfection of the first attempt only motivated me to try again.
加水的太滑了，你把握不住。
你注意球，立马。
5 minutes later.
I've already sculpted the shape of the hand. While the clay is still soft, I'll use a small scraper to sculpt the details of the hand. After completing the overall shaping, I began sculpting the remaining 4 fingers. It looked simple, but the sculpting process took me half an hour. I think carving tools are very important. However, there aren't many tools to choose from here, and I'm not very skilled at using them either. However, I have 2 other very important tools, time and patience. I believe that as long as I put in the effort, I can achieve the results I want. And my goal isn't 100 points, but rather 80 points. This is how it turned out in the end. It may not be as perfect as the original, but I really like the hand I sculpted. It's mine, and it's unique. It's like raising your own child to be successful. He's striving to emulate his idol, but he also possesses his own unique personal charm. What do you think? Isn't it cute? Next, I started sculpting the other hand. I thought this time it would go more smoothly because I had some experience. But the truth is, you can't gain much experience from a simple attempt. And by this time, I had been working for a full 2 hours. This was incredibly exhausting for someone 27 weeks pregnant. The teacher is documenting our creation process. My sister is making a cat. My initial idea for making the V sign was to mold it into a shape and then cut it. Just like this. But after much tweaking, it ended up looking like a snail.
太假了，太开了，好像。
My sister said that such a shape is prone to breaking during the firing process. So I changed my approach. I first made 2 small cylinders, adjusted their shapes, and then attached them to the main body. By the time I started tweaking the details, my sister's kitten was already taking shape. The kitten she made had a very cute butt.
1 hour later.
I finally finished the second hand. The third step is to attach the shaped hand to the cup. To make it more secure, the joint needs to be roughened with a tool. Then brush wet mud onto the joint. Continue filling with mud to make the connection between the two even tighter. Meanwhile, my sister is trying to figure out how to make the handle of her cup out of a cattail shape. She failed on her first attempt, but her cat was really cute, lying obediently on the cup. After several attempts, I found that tools weren't as effective as my fingers. I wet my fingers, smeared the mud with them, and tried to blend the two together better. Human fingers are truly a magnificent invention. Semi-finished product display. What do you think? It looks pretty cute, right? I can't wait to use it to drink water someday. The cup has some imperfections on the outside, but that's precisely what makes it impossible to replicate a handmade piece. After completing this step, only the final coloring work remains. Compared to the previous steps, this one is so simple. All I need to do is paint the cup green and hands pink. Meanwhile, my sister was also doing the coloring step. Her steps were even simpler. She just had to paint the cat pure black. I really like this color. It reminds me of avocados. However, the color will change during the drying and firing process. Nobody knows what the final color will be. The teacher said his studio fires a batch of pieces every month. He just fired one a couple of days ago, so the cups we made today won't be ready until next month. But tomorrow is the kiln opening day, so if we have time, we can go see what the last batch of cups looked like. To be honest, I'm quite curious, so I arranged to meet him again tomorrow morning. To make the color more prominent, I applied it 3 times in total. The first coat was applied horizontally, the second coat was applied vertically, and the third coat was applied horizontally again. Unlike the original artwork, I painted sleeves on the arms to make them look like a child wearing a green t-shirt. Finally, I painted my hands pink. That concludes my artwork for today. Looking at the comparison with the original work, although it is not a complete reproduction, I think it is already very good for someone who is trying pottery for the first time. Perhaps you're curious about what kind of cup my sister made. Let's take a look. She made a kitten trying to climb onto a cup. Its round head and bottom are adorable. The kitten's tail extends and becomes the cup's handle. This is what her cup looks like after it's been colored. The next day, I returned. Today was the monthly kiln opening day. These were all pieces the studio had accumulated over the past month. Cups of different shapes, colors, and designs. There are also pen holders, incense holders, plates, and similar items. Next, I'll show you some works that I found interesting. The first one is the Little Prince and the Fox. The second one is a brush holder painted in the style of Kibaishi's shrimp. It has a very antique Chinese porcelain feel. The third one, a cat-shaped cup. Pour water or milk into the cup, and it looks like a cat is taking a bath. Very creative. From another perspective, it looks like a curious cat, wanting to see what's in the cup. The fourth item is an incense holder. The artist of this piece owned a kitten, and she sculpted it in the likeness of her pet. Incense sticks can be inserted into the hole. The ash from the lit incense will fall into the holder. The fifth one is a cup with unique lines. It reminds me of red bean paste toast. The sixth one is a cup with a house painted on it. The picture is simple, but it has a lot of artistic flair. The next few pieces are children's doodles. They used very bold and vibrant colors. These are my favorites. Finally, let's admire all the finished pieces. This video has come to an end. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.